The roast was burning, and so was my last nerve. I stood in my parents' kitchen, gripping the counter until my knuckles turned white, watching my mother fuss over my younger brother like he was still 5 years old. Some things never change. My name is Vanessa, and I should have known better than to come to another Sunday dinner. But here I was, 36 years old, and still playing the dutiful daughter, showing up week after week to be reminded of my place in the family hierarchy. "Bryce, honey, tell your sister the wonderful news," Mom beamed, practically vibrating with excitement as she ladled gravy onto his plate first. Always first. Well, Bryce flashed that practiced smile of his, the one that usually preceded asking for money. "Laurel and I are engaged," Mom squealed. Dad clapped. I forced my face into what I hoped was an appropriate expression of joy, even as my stomach clenched with dread. "That's wonderful," I managed. "Congratulations." "We're planning a destination wedding," Laurel chimed in, her perfectly manicured hand resting on Bryce's arm. "In Tuscany. It's going to be absolutely magical." I took a large sip of wine, already seeing where this was heading. "Of course," Bryce continued, "with the venue we want and the time of year, it's going to be a bit pricey. But that's where you come in, sis." The wine turned bitter in my mouth. "Excuse me?" "Well, you're the one with the big consulting salary," he said, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. "And it's not like you have real responsibilities. No kids, no mortgage." "Bryce," I started, but Mum cut me off. "Vanessa, dear, family means sacrifice. You know that. And wouldn't it be wonderful to give your brother the wedding of his dreams?" Dad cleared his throat. "You make more than enough to help out. It's the right thing to do." I stared at my plate, watching the gravy slowly seep into the mashed potatoes. The right thing to do. How many times had I heard that phrase? "How much?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. "Well," Laurel jumped in, practically glowing, "we found this amazing villa that would be perfect for the ceremony, with flights, accommodations, catering, probably around 60,000? The fork slipped from my fingers, clattering against the plate. $60,000? It's not that much for you," Bryce waved dismissively. "Besides, you owe me after that business with Marcel." My head snapped up. "I owe you? After I caught myself, took a deep breath. "Can we discuss this later?" "There's nothing to discuss," Mom said firmly. "This is what families do for each other. You'll help your brother have his special day." I smiled politely, even as something dark and dangerous stirred in my chest. Years of receipts, favours, and quiet resentment crystallized into a single, clarifying moment of rage. "Of course," I heard myself say. "We'll figure something out." The conversation moved on, but I barely heard it. Instead, I watched them all. Mom doting on Bryce, Dad nodding approvingly at Laurel's plans, my brother's smug certainty that I would cave as always. My phone buzzed. A text from Felicity. "How's Sunday dinner from hell?" I typed back quickly. "They want $60K for a destination wedding. Time to pull out the receipts." Her response was immediate. "Finally, let me know when to bring the popcorn." I looked up to find Bryce watching me, that familiar, entitled smile on his face. He raised his wine glass in my direction, certain of his victory. I raised mine back, but inside, my mind was already racing through years of carefully preserved documents, recorded conversations, and financial statements. They had no idea what was coming. "To family," Bryce announced. "To family," everyone echoed. I sipped my wine and smiled, knowing then that I'd let them dig their own graves. They wanted to talk about family obligations? Fine. It was time they learned exactly what those obligations had cost me. "More wine, dear?" Mum asked, already reaching for my glass. "No thanks," I replied, standing up. "I need to head home. Lots of work to do." They didn't even try to convince me to stay. They never did. But for once, I was grateful for their dismissal. I had plans to make, files to gather, and a decade of favours to call in. As I drove home that night, I couldn't help but laugh. They thought they were planning a wedding. Instead, they just scheduled their own wake. "Holy shit," Felicity whispered, spreading the documents across my dining room table. "You really kept everything?" I nodded, pulling another folder from my filing cabinet. 10 years of cleaning up their messes, every receipt, every transfer, every desperate phone call at 2 a.m. This is... She picked up a bank statement, eyes widening. 15,000 to Marcel Murphy. Under Bryce's name, but from your account? That was 3 years ago. One of his gambling debts. I poured us both another glass of wine. He swore it was the last time. It wasn't. Felicity, being both my best friend and a lawyer, started organising the papers into neat piles. And your parents' house? The one they're always bragging about saving through hard work and prayer? I pulled out a thick manila envelope, removing the deed transfer documents. They were 3 months from foreclosure. I paid it off, but Mom insisted on keeping it quiet. What would the church think? I mimicked her voice. The only condition was putting the house in my name. They signed without even reading it properly. Jesus, Felicity muttered. How much total? Over the years? I checked my spreadsheet. Close to 200,000. And now they want 60 grand for a wedding? She shook her head. In Tuscany? Please tell me you're not considering it. No, I said firmly. I'm done being their ATM, but I want to do this right. Felicity's eyes lit up with that dangerous gleam I knew too well. What exactly did you have in mind? I pulled up my email, showing her the message I'd received that morning. Marcel Murphy reached out. Apparently Bryce is telling people I'll cover his new debts too. Marcel's not happy. Perfect timing? Felicity grinned. We can get a sworn statement from him about the pattern of behaviour. My phone buzzed. A text from Mum. Laurel's looking at flowers tomorrow. She needs your credit card information for the deposit. The audacity, Felicity growled, reading over my shoulder. I ignored the message, instead pulling out an old medical bill. Remember when Mum needed emergency surgery? They told everyone the church raised the money. But you paid for it? Every penny, $25,000, while they smiled and thanked God for the congregation's generosity. Felicity started taking photos of the documents with her phone. We need copies of everything, digital backups, and we need to move fast before they try anything with that house. They wouldn't, I started, but my phone buzzed again. This time it was Dad. Just wanted to let you know we're meeting with our lawyer tomorrow. Time to update the will. Make things fair for everyone. I showed Felicity the message. She laughed. They really think they have leverage when you own their house. They don't think I'd ever use it against them. I took another sip of wine. They still see me as that little girl who'd do anything to make them proud. And Bryce? He thinks I'm bluffing. That I'll cave like always. I pulled out one final document, a series of text messages I'd screenshotted between Bryce and Laurel, discussing their strategy for getting me to fund the wedding. Laurel. Just guilt trip her about family. Your sister's loaded and single. Where else is she going to spend her money? Bryce. Trust me, she'll pay. She always does. Just act excited and let Mom work her magic. Felicity's face darkened as she read. These entitled little... I know. I started organising everything chronologically. But we're going to do this methodically. No room for denial or manipulation. What's the endgame here? Felicity asked, helping me sort. Beyond not paying for the wedding? I held up the house deed. They want to talk about family obligations. Let's show everyone exactly how those obligations have played out. My phone buzzed again. Bryce this time. Hey sis, need to meet about wedding details. Laurel's thinking videographer in Iceland for the proposal announcement. Nothing crazy, maybe 5K. Felicity saw my expression. How does it feel? Like watching someone dig their own grave, I replied, adding his message to the evidence pile. And for once, I'm not going to stop them. We worked late into the night, organising years of financial manipulation into a clear, undeniable narrative. Every receipt told a story, every transfer revealed a lie, every desperate message exposed their true colours. You know there's no coming back from this, Felicity warned as she left. Once you pull this trigger, I thought about Sunday dinner, about decades of being the responsible one, the reliable one, the family ATM. Good, I said, closing the door behind her. It's time they learned that karma keeps receipts too. The doorbell rang at exactly 7 p.m. I knew who it was before I opened the door. Bryce never could resist showing up unannounced when he wanted something. Surprise! Laurel chirped, pushing past me into my apartment. Her designer handbag probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. We brought wine. And takeout, Bryce added, holding up a bag from my favourite Thai place. The same restaurant he'd gotten banned from last year for trying to run a tab he couldn't pay. I let them in, watching as they made themselves comfortable on my couch. They had this down to a science. The casual drop-by, the peace offerings, the practiced smiles. "So," Laurel began, uncorking the wine without asking where my glasses were. She already knew. "We've been doing some amazing planning for the wedding." "I bet," I said, accepting the glass she poured me. "The thing is," Bryce jumped in, "we have this incredible opportunity. My friend Jake, you remember Jake? He's this amazing videographer now, does all these viral proposal videos. He's huge on Instagram," Laurel added, her eyes sparkling. "And he's willing to do our proposal announcement video in Iceland. Can you believe it?" I took a slow sip of wine. "I thought you were already engaged." "Well, yes," Laurel waved dismissively, "but we need the content. For the brand, it's all part of the wedding journey." "The brand," I repeated flatly. "Look, sis." Bryce leaned forward, all earnest eyes and boyish charm. "It's not that expensive. 5,000 for the video, maybe 3 for flights and accommodations." "No." They both blinked, thrown off script. "What do you mean, no?" Bryce's charm slipped slightly. "I mean, no. I'm not your ATM machine." Laurel's perfectly maintained smile faltered. "Vanessa, this is about family, about creating beautiful memories. Beautiful memories don't need a film crew and social media strategy," I cut in. "And while we're talking about family, let's discuss the gambling, Bryce." The colour drained from his face. "What?" "Marcel Murphy called me. Again. Funny how you keep giving my name to your creditors without asking." "She's lying." Bryce turned to Laurel quickly. "She's always been jealous of me. Making up stories." "I have the receipts," I said quietly. "Every single one." The silence that followed was deafening. Laurel's Instagram-ready smile turned sharp. "Are you threatening us?" "Just stating facts. I'm done funding other people's fantasies." My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. "Your mother and I are very disappointed. Meeting with lawyers tomorrow about the will. You're forcing our hand." I showed them the message. "Interesting timing." "Dad's just trying to protect the family," Bryce said. But his voice wavered. "The family?" I laughed. "You mean the house I own? The medical bills I paid? The gambling debts I covered?" "That's different," he started. "You're right. It is different. Because this time I'm saying no." Laurel stood up, gathering her designer bag. "You're making a huge mistake. Family should support each other." "You're right again," I smiled. "So where's my support been all these years?" "You're just bitter because you're alone," Bryce snapped, mask finally slipping. "No husband, no kids, nothing but your money to make you feel important." "Better alone than surrounded by users," I replied calmly. "Now get out of my apartment." They left in a huff, Laurel already typing furiously on her phone, probably drafting some vague social media post about toxic people and staying strong. My phone buzzed again. "Dad, you leave us no choice. Legal action may be necessary to force fairness in this family." I smiled, thinking of the documents spread across my dining room table. "Let them," I whispered to my empty apartment. Another text came through, this time from Mom. "Your brother is crying. I hope you're happy with yourself." I poured myself another glass of wine and pulled up my contact list. Time to call Marcel Murphy back. If they wanted to play hardball, I had a few curves to throw their way. The phone rang twice before he picked up. "Marcel, it's Vanessa. About those affidavits we discussed. I think it's time to make things official." I could practically hear him smile through the phone. "I was hoping you'd call. Your brother's been busy lately. Very busy." "Tell me everything," I said, pulling out my notebook. "And don't leave out a single detail." As Marcel started talking, I felt a strange sense of peace. They thought they were punishing me with their threats and manipulation. Instead, they were just adding more ammunition to my arsenal. Let them call their lawyers. Let them make their threats. I had something better than empty words and guilt trips. I had the truth, and it was time to let it shine. The coffee shop was nearly empty when Marcel Murphy walked in. 3 years hadn't changed him much. Same expensive suit, same calculating eyes. He spotted me immediately and made his way over, briefcase in hand. "You look well," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. "Better than your brother did last week." I pushed a coffee toward him. "Tell me about last week. Straight to business?" "I like that." He took a sip. "Your brother came to me about a month ago. Said he needed 40 grand for a wedding. Told me his rich sister would cover it, just like always. And I was stupid enough to believe him. Again. Marcel pulled out a folder. But this time I got smart. Made him sign everything. Got it all documented. I examined the papers he handed over. Loan agreements, promissory notes, even photos of Bryce at the casino taken just days ago. "He's gotten worse," Marcel continued. "It's not just me anymore. There's at least 3 other collectors he's promised your money to. Tommy Reeves, Sarah Blackwood, Mike Peters. They're all waiting for their guaranteed payouts from Big Sister." "How much total?" "That I know of? Close to 90,000. And that's just in the last 2 months. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. "Does Laurel know? His fiancée?" Marcel laughed. "She's the one who introduced him to Tommy Reeves. She's not as innocent as she looks." I pulled out my own folder. "I need you to make this official. Sworn statements, documentation, everything." "Already done." He produced a thick envelope. "I figured that's why you called. 3 notarized affidavits detailing every loan, every promise, every time he used your name without permission, plus statements from the others." "They agreed to help?" "They're pissed, Vanessa. Your brother's been playing this game too long." My phone buzzed. A text from Mum. "Found your father's old medical records. Remember when the church helped us? Such a blessing." I smiled coldly, pulling out another document from my bag. "Speaking of medical bills, take a look at this." Marcel whistled at the numbers. "Emergency surgery? And you paid for all of it?" "Every cent, while they told everyone the church congregation saved them." "That's cold," he said, genuine surprise in his voice. "Using the church to cover their tracks. They're very good at maintaining appearances." I took another sip of coffee. But appearances can be deceiving. "Like the house?" Marcel raised an eyebrow. "Bryce mentioned something about your parents threatening you with lawyers over property rights." I showed him the deed. "They forgot who actually owns it." "Damn." He leaned back, studying me. "You know, when your brother first started coming around, I thought you were the family sucker. The soft touch they could always count on." I was. "But you've been playing the long game, haven't you? Keeping receipts, documenting everything." "Not playing," I corrected. "Just waiting." Marcel gathered his papers. "Well, you've got everything you need from me. All official, all legally binding. What are you going to do with it?" "Depends on them." I stood up. "But I appreciate the ammunition." "One more thing," he called as I turned to leave. "Tommy Reeves mentioned Bryce was at his casino last night. Dropped another 20 grand he didn't have." I paused. "And?" "And he told everyone not to worry. His sister's paying for his wedding in Tuscany. Said if you could afford that, you could afford to cover his investment strategy." I felt that familiar burn of anger, but kept my voice steady. "Good to know." Outside, my phone buzzed again. A family group text from Dad. "Emergency family meeting tomorrow night. Attendance mandatory. Time to sort out this nonsense about the house and wedding. Bring your lawyer if you must." I forwarded the message to Felicity, adding, "Time to go nuclear?" Her response was immediate. "Finally! Want me to bring the affidavits?" "Bring everything," I typed back. "They want to talk about family obligations? Let's show them exactly what those obligations look like on paper." Another text popped up, this time from Bryce. "You're making a big mistake, sis. Last chance to do the right thing." I found myself laughing as I got into my car. The right thing. They'd been using that phrase my entire life, wielding it like a weapon whenever they needed something from me, but they'd forgotten one crucial detail. I had proof of what right really meant to them. And tomorrow night, they'd learn exactly how wrong they'd been about me. I pulled out my old medical files folder one last time before driving home, and there it was, Mum's emergency surgery bill, marked paid with my signature. Their convenient miracle, funded by my savings account. Well, it was time for another miracle, and this one would cost them everything. The family barbecue was my mother's idea. No lawyers, she'd insisted. Let's handle this like family. So here I was, watching Dad flip burgers while Mum fussed over the potato salad, playing along with their fantasy of normalcy. More lemonade? Laurel offered, all sunshine and Instagram smiles. She'd been documenting everything on her phone, probably for some future post about healing family bonds or whatever hashtag was trending. Thanks, I smiled, holding out my glass. Two could play at this game. The wedding planner sent over some amazing villa options, she gushed, scrolling through photos on her phone. This one's my favourite. It has its own vineyard. Sounds expensive, I said mildly. Oh, don't worry about that, Bryce chimed in, wrapping an arm around her. We're family. We take care of each other. I took a long sip of lemonade. Speaking of taking care of each other, funny story about this house. Mom dropped a serving spoon. Dad's spatula paused mid-flip. What about the house? Bryce asked, still smiling but eyes narrowing. Just remembering how it almost went into foreclosure 3 years ago, before I put it in my name. The backyard went silent. Even the birds seemed to stop chirping. That's not how it happened, Mom stammered. The church didn't pay a cent, I said, pulling out my phone. But I have the transfer receipts right here, along with the deed. Funny how everyone forgot about that little detail. Now listen here, Dad started, abandoning his burgers. This house belongs to the family. Shared ownership. Really? I hit play on a recording. Dad's voice clear as day saying, we'd die before letting her take it from them. Laurel's phone dropped slightly, no longer filming. You recorded us? Mum whispered, horrified. I record everything these days. I smiled. Old habit, like keeping receipts. You're bluffing, Bryce said, but his voice shook. You wouldn't what? Tell the truth? Show evidence? Maybe we should discuss Marcel Murphy while we're at it. The colour drained from his face. Laurel suddenly found her phone very interesting again. Or we could talk about Mom's emergency surgery, the one the church miraculously funded. I pulled out another document. Funny, this bill shows a different story. That's enough. Dad slammed the spatula down. This is blackmail. No, I corrected calmly. This is accountability. You wanted to talk about family obligations. Let's talk. Vanessa, please. Mom tried, reaching for my hand. We can work this out. The wedding is the least of your problems. I stood up, gathering my things. You have until tomorrow to tell everyone the truth. About the house, the surgery, everything, or I will. You wouldn't dare, Dad growled. Not to the church, not to the family. Try me. I headed for the gate. Oh, and Bryce? Tommy Reeves says hi. Maybe explain to Laurel where that 20 grand went last night. Laurel's head snapped up. What 20 grand? I left them there, surrounded by burning burgers and shattered illusions. My phone buzzed immediately. A family group text from Dad. You'll regret this. Family means loyalty. I typed back. Check your email. I just sent you proof of my loyalty. Every receipt, every transfer, every lie I covered up. All neatly documented. Still want to talk about regrets? 3 dots appeared as someone typed a response, then disappeared. Another text, this time from Bryce. You're dead to us. I laughed out loud in my car. Funny, I replied. I thought I was just the family ATM. Make up your mind. Felicity called as I pulled out of the driveway. How'd it go? Phase 1 complete. They're panicking. Good. Want me to start making calls? I have that list of church members who've been asking questions. Not yet, I said, watching my parents' house shrink in the rearview mirror. Let them sweat tonight. Tomorrow we go nuclear. You know they'll try to spin this, she warned. Make you look like the bad guy. Let them try. I smiled, thinking of the folders of evidence safely backed up in 3 different locations. I've got something better than their lies. I've got proof. My phone buzzed one final time. Laurel posting on Instagram. Sometimes the people closest to you show their true colours. Stay strong. Daha toxic family, Baha'i boundaries. Daha Healing. I screenshot it for evidence. Soon she'd learn what true colours really looked like, displayed in black and white, documented and notarized. The burgers were probably ashes by now, much like their carefully constructed facade. But that's the thing about facades. They only work until someone shines a light on what's behind them. And tomorrow? Tomorrow I was bringing floodlights. The first message hit the family group chat at exactly 9 a.m. No text, just screenshots. Bryce at the casino, dated last week. Bank transfers showing thousands disappearing into gambling accounts. Messages from Marcel Murphy and other creditors. Mum responded first. "What is this?" I didn't answer. Instead, I sent the next batch. Laurel's private messages to her influencer friends, planning how to monetize the wedding. "His sister's loaded," she'd written. "We just need to play this right." My phone exploded with notifications. Bryce, "Take this down now." Dad, "This is completely inappropriate." Laurel, "Those messages are private." Mum, "Please stop this." I kept going. Next came the mortgage documents, showing the house in my name. Then Mum's medical bills, with my signature on the payments. Finally, the video clip of Dad shouting that I was never really part of the family. The group chat went silent for exactly 3 minutes. Then the extended family started chiming in. Aunt Sarah, "Is this true? About the house?" Uncle Mike, "Bryce, you're gambling again?" Cousin Rachel, "OMG Laurel, how could you?" My phone rang. Mum calling. I declined it. Then Dad. Declined. Bryce. Declined. Instead, I watched as the truth spread like wildfire through our family network. Years of carefully maintained lies crumbling in real time. A private message popped up from Mrs. Peterson, our church secretary. "Vanessa, dear, is it true what they're saying about your mother's surgery? The one we all donated to?" I sent her the receipts. She responded with a single, "Oh my." Another message from Dad's brother. "Kid, I always knew something was off, but this is something else." Laurel went into damage control mode on Instagram. "Sometimes people try to tear you down when you're about to rise. Stay strong, warriors. Be your blessed boundaries. Your truth will prevail." I screenshot it and added it to the group chat, along with her messages about exploiting my sad, single life for social media engagement. Mum tried a different approach. "Please, everyone, there's been a misunderstanding. Let's discuss this privately." I responded with audio recordings of her discussing how to manipulate me into funding the wedding. "He's your brother," her voice rang out clearly. "What else are you going to spend your money on?" Bryce's fiancée left the group chat. Dad tried calling 3 more times before sending a text. "You've destroyed this family." I replied with a photo of the latest casino receipt, dated yesterday. "No, you did that yourselves. I'm just showing everyone the ruins." The church pastor messaged next. "We need to have a meeting about these allegations." I sent him everything, every receipt, every lie, every manipulation wrapped in prayers and false piety. Aunt Sarah, "I can't believe you let us think the church saved you, Margaret. We all gave what we could." Uncle Mike, "All these years making Vanessa look like the selfish one." Cousin Rachel, "Does anyone else feel sick about this?" My phone buzzed again. Laurel posting another cryptic Instagram story. "Sometimes silence is the best response. Chai boundaries, Shahid healing, Shahid self-care." I added one final message to the family chat. "There's more. Much more. Would anyone like to see the rest?" The responses came quickly. Mum, "Please stop. Dad, you made your point. Bryce, I'll kill you for this." I screenshot his threat and added it to my evidence folder. A new message appeared from Mrs. Peterson. "Emergency church council meeting tomorrow. Your parents' membership is under review." Then Uncle Mike, "Bryce, we need to talk about these gambling debts. Now." And Aunt Sarah, "Margaret, I want my donation back. The one for your life-saving surgery." I watched as their carefully constructed world imploded, one text at a time. Years of lies exposed to sunlight, withering under the harsh glare of truth. Felicity called, "Holy shit, it's happening! The church group is blowing up." "I know. I said, watching the notifications flood in. Think they've had enough? Are you kidding? This is just the appetizer. Wait until they see the legal documents. My phone buzzed with another message, from Marcel Murphy this time. Saw the family chat. Need me to release the rest of the evidence? Not yet, I replied. Let's give them time to process this batch first. The group chat had devolved into chaos. Accusations, denials, shocked reactions from relatives near and far. 20 years of carefully maintained facades crumbling in real time. Mum's final message came through. What have you done? I typed back. I told the truth. Try it sometime? Then I muted the chat, poured myself a glass of wine, and watched as karma did its work. They wanted to talk about family obligations? Well, sometimes the biggest obligation is to the truth, and the truth, as they were learning, keeps receipts. The living room felt smaller than I remembered. Maybe it was the tension, thick enough to cut with a knife, or maybe it was just the crowd. Mum, Dad, Bryce, their lawyer, and Felicity, all crammed into the space where I'd grown up. This family intervention is long overdue, Mum began, hands trembling around her coffee cup. Vanessa, your behaviour has been... Let's start with the will, their lawyer interrupted, pulling out documents. Your parents are prepared to remove you entirely unless... Felicity laughed. Actually laughed. Is that supposed to be a threat? I opened my briefcase slowly, methodically. The room went quiet as I began laying out files. Let's talk about threats, I said, placing Marcel Murphy's affidavit on the coffee table, like telling creditors I'd cover gambling debts without my knowledge. That's not, Bryce started. I laid down bank statements next. Or how about threatening to contest ownership of a house that's legally mine? Now wait just a minute. Dad stood up, face reddening. Or maybe, I continued, adding another stack of documents, we should discuss the fraud involved in collecting church donations for medical bills I'd already paid? Their lawyer picked up the nearest file, frowning as he read. Mrs. Richards, you told me this situation was about a wedding dispute. It is, Mum insisted. She's trying to ruin her brother's special day. Actually, Felicity chimed in, she's preventing financial fraud. These documents show a clear pattern of exploitation and misrepresentation of funds. You're twisting everything, Bryce shouted, jumping up. This is what she does. Makes everything about her. I pulled out my phone, played the recording of him promising Marcel to get money from his rich sister. The room fell silent again. Would you like to hear the other recordings? I asked quietly. I have quite a collection. Their lawyer cleared his throat. I think I need to review these materials before we proceed. Of course, Felicity smiled. We have copies for everyone, including the church council if necessary. Mum started crying. Dad's face had gone from red to pale. What do you want? He finally asked. Money? No, I said, standing up. I want you to understand something. This house? It's going up for rent next month. To strangers. You can't, Mum gasped. I can, I will. And one more thing. I'm done cleaning up Bryce's messes. The next creditor who comes calling will be directed straight to the police. Bryce lunged forward. You fucking bit... Finish that sentence, Felicity warned, and I'll add assault threats to the restraining order we're filing. Their lawyer started packing up his briefcase. I don't think I can represent you in this matter. The evidence is overwhelming. Evidence of what? Dad demanded. She's just trying to control us. Evidence of fraud, the lawyer said bluntly. Multiple counts, and I strongly suggest you seek different counsel. I gathered my things, leaving copies of everything on the table. You have 24 hours to move out of my house. After that, I'm changing the locks. Where are we supposed to go? Mum sobbed. I hear Bryce has a spare room, I replied. Though with his gambling debts, probably not for long. I headed for the door, but Bryce grabbed my arm. You'll regret this, he hissed. I looked him dead in the eye. I already did. Every day for the last 10 years. Felicity followed me out, but I paused in the doorway one last time. Oh, and Mum? The church council wants their donation money back. All of it. I'm sure you can figure something out. After all, family means sacrifice, right? The drive home was quiet. Felicity finally broke the silence. You okay? Better than okay, I replied. I feel free. My phone started buzzing. Messages from extended family, church members, even Laurel's influencer friends, as the story spread. Your parents are trending locally, Felicity noted, checking her phone. Someone leaked the church donation scandal to the community Facebook group. Imagine that, I said dryly. You know they'll try to spin this, right? Play the victims. Let them try. The truth doesn't need spin. We pulled up to my apartment just as a text came through from Bryce. I hope you're happy. You've ruined everything. I typed back, No, I just stopped letting you ruin me. Then I blocked his number, walked into my apartment, and poured 2 glasses of wine. One for me, one for Felicity. To Karma, she raised her glass. To receipts, I corrected, clinking glasses. Tomorrow, they'd wake up to their new reality. No more safety net, no more ATM sister, no more lies wrapped in family obligation. But tonight I'd sleep soundly, knowing I'd finally chosen truth over peace, justice over acceptance, and the self-respect over family fantasy. And honestly, it felt better than any approval they'd ever given me. The moving truck pulled away from my childhood home, carrying the last of my parents' belongings. I watched from my car across the street, sipping coffee and feeling strangely peaceful. My phone buzzed, a text from the new tenants. Just got the keys. Thank you for choosing us. We'll take good care of the place. I smiled, remembering their application. A young couple with twins, both teachers, looking for their first real home. They'd light up the old house with genuine love instead of carefully maintained appearances. Another notification popped up. Laurel had finally broken her social media silence. Sometimes the hardest endings lead to the best beginnings. Wedding cancelled. Living my truth. Blessed. The comments were brutal. Is this because your fiancé's gambling debt went public? What happened to that Tuscany villa fund? Guess you can't monetize family drama after all. I closed the app just as Felicity pulled up beside me. You don't have to watch this, she said through her open window. Yes, I do. I took another sip of coffee. Need to make sure they actually leave. Have you heard from any of them? Mum's staying with Aunt Sarah. Dad moved in with Bryce. The church council voted to suspend their membership pending a full investigation of the donation fraud. And Bryce? Marcel Murphy says he's been hitting up new creditors. Same story, different suckers. I shrugged. Not my problem anymore. A car turned onto the street, my parents making one last drive-by. They slowed as they passed, Mum's face pressed against the passenger window. I lifted my coffee cup in a mock toast. You know, Felicity mused, most people would feel guilty. I did. For years. I watched their car disappear around the corner. But guilt was their weapon, not my responsibility. My phone rang. Uncle Mike. I put it on speaker. Just wanted to say, his gruff voice filled the car. You did good, kid. Should have done it years ago. Thanks, Uncle Mike. Your cousin Rachel's getting married next spring. Low-key backyard thing. She'd like you to come. I felt something warm in my chest. Tell her I'd love to. After hanging up, I noticed a final text from Bryce. Dad's sleeping on my couch. Mum's crying every day. Hope you're satisfied. I typed back, I am. Welcome to responsibility. Try not to gamble it away. Then I blocked him too. Ready? Felicity asked. Almost. I pulled out an old photo from my purse. The last happy family portrait, taken right before I started paying their bills. Everyone smiling, secrets still safely hidden. I ripped it in half, then quarters, then let the pieces flutter into my coffee cup. Now, I'm ready. We drove to my favourite cafe, the one where I'd met with Marcel Murphy. The owner waved as we walked in. Hey, Vanessa, saw your family drama made the community newsletter. Your usual? Actually, I smiled. I'll try something new today. Felicity raised an eyebrow. Living dangerously? Living honestly. I ordered a drink I'd always wanted to try, but had been too worried about the cost. Funny how years of paying others' debts make you second-guess small pleasures. To new beginnings? Felicity raised her cup. No, I shook my head. To right now, This moment, no more waiting for approval or permission. My phone buzzed one last time. Mrs. Peterson from church. The council finished reviewing your evidence. Your parents have been asked to repay all donations. You were right to speak up. I turned my phone off completely. You know what the best revenge is? I asked Felicity. Living well? No. I took a sip of my overpriced, absolutely perfect drink. Living truthfully. Through the cafe window, I could see normal life continuing. People shopping, talking, living without hidden agendas or carefully constructed lies. I used to think I needed my family's version of love to be part of that world. Now, I knew better. My father used to say I'd only be part of the family if I acted like it, I told Felicity. He was right. I just chose the wrong family. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Blood isn't always thicker than water. No, I agreed. Sometimes it's just red ink on a receipt. Outside, the sun was shining on a world that felt bigger, clearer, and infinitely more honest than before. I'd lost a family, but I'd found myself in the ashes. And honestly, I liked her better. The cafe door chimed as new customers walked in, the young couple who'd rented my parents' house. They spotted me and waved, genuine smiles on their faces. I waved back, feeling the last weight lift from my shoulders. Some houses are built on foundations of lies, others on love. I'd finally learned the difference, and that was worth every receipt.